Welcome to Dark Dialogue, where we dive into the mysteries that defy answers and try to give voices to the voiceless. I'm your host, John.
And I'm his co-host, Angela.
Today, we're stepping into a case that's as brilliant as it is brutal. The murder of Candace Hiltz. She was a 17-year-old prodigy from Fremont County, Colorado, a single mom with dreams of the Supreme Court. Gunned down in her home on August 15th, 2006. What starts as a shocking crime spirals into a decade of suspicion, corruption allegations, and a family's relentless fight for justice. This is a deep dive, every detail that we could find, every twist, every shadow. So buckle up. This one's a marathon. So who was Candace Hiltz? Candace, or Candy Hills, was born on December 22nd, 1988 in Canyon City, Colorado. She was the youngest of 7 kids in a tight-knit family. She's a prodigy from the jump, doing calculus by age 11.
Insane.
Yeah. Mind that doesn't just shine, it blazes. By 16, she's a junior at Brigham Young University, taking online classes, and she gets accepted to Stanford Law School.
At 16.
At 16. Her dream? She wants to be a Supreme Court justice. Her mom, Dolores, told the Canyon City Daily Record in 2017, Candy was a gift. Fiercely loyal, outspoken, funny. She's the baby who dressed down her 9 older brothers if they crossed her. So, Angela, did you hunt up some information on Canyon City and the Copper Gulch area where Candace lived?
Some. I got some. So, Canyon City, Colorado, with a current population estimate of 17,241 people, is the location of today's case. It is one of the 13 cities that make up Fremont County, Colorado, which I will touch on a bit later. A little excerpt from the history of Canyon City states that, quote, Canyon City was laid out on January 17th, 1858, during the Pikes Peak Gold Rush. But then the land was left idle. A new company jumped the claim to the town site in late 1859, and it put up the first building in February 1860. This town was originally intended as a commercial center for mining in South Park and the Upper Arkansas River, end quote. So currently, Canyon City is a popular tourist destination offering sightseeing, whitewater rafting, fossil discoveries, I was kind of shocked to see that.
Oh, yeah.
And several rock climbing areas and hiking paths. Fun fact, it is also one of the very few U.S. cities who have the tilde, or the Spanish N, in its name. So, Fremont County, Colorado, has a colorful description to say the least. On one hand, it is known for the beauty of the majestic Royal Gorge and the iconic suspension bridge, which is the highest suspension bridge in America at 956 feet above the Arkansas River.
It's pretty insane.
I've never been there. I don't think I will go. But I might see it from afar.
You don't have to drive across the bridge. You can park and walk down and just look at it.
Well,
but it's insane.
Well, as I mentioned here, it was constructed in early 20th century in just 7 months by a team of 80 men. Do not know. These guys were eating their Wheaties. 7 months?
You are not kidding me.
Really. Apparently, there are several different ways to view the scenery of the gorge, depending on your preferred level of thrill. Sky coaster, zip lines, or aerial gondolas. And this is where I say I will stay on the ground. Now, on the other very different hand, Fremont County is known as Colorado's correctional capital, affectionately, or maybe not so affectionately, referred to as Prison Valley, because of the substantial amount of state and federal correctional facilities. 15 if you're keeping count.
Yep.
One of these facilities is the only federal supermax prison in the United States that carries the nickname Alcatraz of the Rockies.
And I believe it's the highest concentration of prisons anywhere in the world.
11 of them are just in Canyon City.
Yeah. It's insane.
Yeah. So, as of March 2015, Fremont County, Colorado leads the nation among all counties as one with the largest proportion of incarcerated people. Prisoners are counted as part of the county population in the census and make up approximately 20% of the county's population. Whew.
Yeah.
So, on that note, let's let John take us back to the story at hand and learn how one of those residents, or more, need to be incarcerated in one of those facilities.
Perfect. Thank you, Angela.
You're welcome.
I have spent some time in Canyon City. And, as I've mentioned on previous episodes, I enjoy touring prisons.
Mm-hmm.
So I decided that I would go and tour the oldest prison in Colorado, which is in Canyon City. Pulled into the parking lot and was surrounded by cards informing me that I was not allowed on prison property because it is still a working prison.
The whole damn place is prison the whole damn county is prison property.
It is insane because this prison is well over 100 years old. I mean, it is the old limestone block wall prison.
Yeah.
They still use it.
Which I hate to use the word beautiful for prison, but limestone,
those old prisons,
it's beautiful,
are cool. And this one is like in Canyon City, in town. I think like right next to it, it's like a city park or something. It's bizarre. It is a bizarre town.
Yeah. Bizarre things happen there.
Yes, they do. So let's get back to it. So as we dive back into the story, we need to step back a bit. So back to the late 1980s and early 1990s and into the rugged heart of Fremont County, Colorado, where Candace Hiltz, known to her family as Candy, came into the world. Like you told us, Angela, Canyon City is a unique place.
Unique's a nice word.
It's rural, raw. It's a place where kids grow up fast amid a mix of beauty and hardship. Candace is the youngest of 7 in the Hiltz family, a brood that is shaped by loss and resilience. Her childhood is where her story begins, and it's a tapestry of genius, grit, and a bond with a chaotic, loving plan. Let's dive into every detail that we can unearth about those formative years. So Candace arrives as a baby with 6 older siblings, all boys with the exception of one sister. So they tower over her in age and in size. There's James, or Jimmy, closest to her in this story later, and he's born in 1977. He's already 11 when she's born. And others stretching back to the early 70s. We have Jonathan, David, Casey, names that pop up in family accounts. Dolores Hiltz, her mom, is the Rock and is originally from Canyon City, raising her 7 kids after her husband, Candace's dad, dies in 1993 when Candy was just 5. No cause of death is public, but Dolores told the Denver Post in 2017 that, quote, "we lost him too soon." Dolores is a nurse. She's tough, working long shifts at St. Thomas More Hospital and moving the family to a house on Copper Gulch Road, 25 miles southwest of town. A woodsy retreat backing up to the wilderness. It's a fresh start. But money's tight, and the kids learn to fend for themselves.
7 kids, I'd imagine.
Yeah, 7 kids, a single mother. I mean, she had to be putting in insane hours, That Copper Gulch house shapes Candace's world. It was a single-story home, weathered and surrounded by pines and scrub. It's isolated with neighbors that are a trek away, and the woods are her backyard. She's the baby. She's doted on, but she's scrappy. Growing up with brothers who wrestle and hunt and tease her. Heather Hiltz, who'd go on to marry Jonathan and become her sister-in-law, told the Canyon City Daily Record in 2017 that she was outspoken, funny, and she could dress down her brothers in a heartbeat. So picture her at 6'7", 5'2" later, but already fierce and a tomboy and hand-me-down jeans and flannel, chasing the boys through the trees. She's not just tagging along, she's competing. She's lifting weights with them by age 10, bodybuilding a frame that's small but strong. But it's her mind that sets her apart. She's a brilliant prodigy in the vein of Dr. Reed to the Criminal Minds fans. By 1999, Candace is 11 and she's already tackling calculus, something I didn't even do in college. So
I don't do it ever now.
no,
Never have
no.
done. No.
Even more impressive is she's self-taught. She's not in calculus classes.
She means business.
Yeah, she's learning it on her own. So most kids are struggling with fractions, and she's graphing equations in a spiral notebook, sitting at the kitchen table. So, I mean, when I say that she's like Dr. Reed, she's like Dr. Reed.
Little Doogie Howser.
Yeah, like this kid would have probably had multiple degrees. I mean, she was accepted to Stanford Law at 16. I mean, brilliant.
Stolen
Absolutely
from
brilliant.
us.
Yeah. So Dolores said to the chieftain that she was a gift, always asking why, how. The Canyon City Middle School couldn't keep up with her brilliant mind. So she finds herself bored in class. She's way ahead. She's either a teacher's dream or a teacher's nightmare. She's likely smarter than the teachers, you know, and I'm serious.
Yeah.
Her cousin, Kathleen Pavia, told the Denver Post in 2017, Candy stood up to bullies. She hated injustice even then. She's got a moral compass forged early, maybe from watching Dolores fend off life's blows or from watching Jimmy's struggles.
Jimmy, her brother.
Jimmy, her brother. Yep. And Jimmy's a shadow in her childhood. He's 11 years older than her and a once happy-go-lucky kid, but he was sliding into paranoia and depression by the late 90s. He's still living at home when Candace is little, a big brother who teaches her to climb trees or skip rocks in the creek behind the house. But mental illness pulls him away until finally he's in and out at best. And usually by the time she's preteen teen, he's living in the woods.
Mm-hmm. He's kind of my spirit animal in the way of just you people.
Yeah. Yeah. And he really was. He just lived in the woods.
Mm-hmm.
Candace loves him fiercely. And Dolores said in 2017 that she would defend Jimmy to anyone. It's her first taste of loyalty, of fighting for family, even as he drifts into a world that she can't reach.
No one can.
No one can. Home life is a mix of chaos and warmth. Dolores works nights, so Candace learns to cook early, maybe burning pancakes at 8 for her siblings and laughing as smoke fills the kitchen. The boys are loud with motorcycles in the yard, weights clanging in the garage. Candace joins in, bench pressing with Jonathan, who's 20-something when she's 10. She's a tomboy, sure, but she loves jewelry, ball necklaces with beads. She had a girly streak amid the roughhousing.
Did you read why she loved those necklaces?
I don't think I did, no.
It's so she could tell people that she had more balls than her brothers, and some of them were bigger.
Oh, that's hilarious. Yeah, and that sounds like something that would, everything I learned about her, it sounds like something that would just come right out of her mouth too. And you know, as we learn about her family and everything, you think about like a white trash type of setup, but Man, I'm telling you what, I've watched several interviews with Dolores, and I mean, she is stand up,
Hmm.
admirable woman. You can tell that she just worked her butt off her
Don't judge
whole
a book by
life.
its cover, woman.
Yeah,
Yep.
yeah. And everything I saw, every interview I saw with her, I just was extremely impressed. I
Yeah.
mean, she's just a rock solid, hard nosed woman, you could tell.
Hmm.
And I believe that she is one that would have had all those boys doing exactly what Mama said.
Exactly.
Yep.
Yep.
So like you said, Fremont County is in Prison Valley, and it has 15 prisons, including the Supermax. And it is our only Supermax.
Alcatraz of the Rockies.
Yep. And that's in nearby Florence. But the Hillses turn out the outside. It's family, survival, and Candace's books. School's a blur. She's too smart for it. By 13 in 2001, she's in high school at Canyon City High. She's taking advanced placement classes while her peers gossip about prom. Her cousin Kathleen's photo, shared in the Denver Post, shows her at 13 with short dark hair, a shy little grin, always wise beyond her years. Teachers push her, she pushes back, dreaming bigger. And around this time, she develops an obsession with the justice system. She's reading law books from the library, hating rights with
Right.
anybody who would listen to her. And Stanford Law's her beacon, sparked by a Supreme Court case that she catches on NPR. And we don't know what that was, but possibly it was the Bush versus Gore case in 2000, which was fueling her by age 12.
How many tweens know what NPR is?
Very few.
Like, really?
How many 11, 12-year-olds know what Stanford Law is,
Yeah.
let alone, planning to
This
be
is
accepted there?
true. This is true.
But Fremont County's no idol. It's tough. Economically depressed. It still is. If you go downtown Canyon City, there's some neat little shops and stuff, and then there's a lot of closed businesses.
Mhm.
Or at least when I was down there, it's been a few years, but a lot of stuff boarded up. It's just very economically depressed.
That's sad.
Yeah, prisons employ at least half the residents. Almost everybody there is a
Obviously.
prison guard.
Yeah, obviously.
There's just not a whole lot else to do
Mhm.
there. Dolores, go ahead.
I did read that there was one, I don't know if it was federal or state, but there is one prison there that is specifically for geriatric, uh, blind, deaf,
Doesn't surprise me.
just people with special needs. That there's one of those institutions dedicated to that.
Yeah, I don't know about that, but it doesn't surprise me. I mean, you drive across that valley and it is just prison after prison after prison after prison. I mean, that's
Oi.
all that's there. Dolores's nursing gig is steady, but the Hills scrape by. Candace sees it all: poverty, addiction, crime stats glaring red on crimegrade.org years later. And, this is, like you said, it's known as Prison Valley. Her story is featured on a series that's called Valley of the Damned. And the whole series is crime cases from this region because crime skyrocketed when they put all these prisons there,
Right.
because
Well,
they parole these guys right
yep.
into the area. So it went from like no crime to out of control crime.
Mhm.
And that's all the way across the valley. She's 14 in 2002 when she starts BYU online. So 14 years old, she's doing college online and taking junior level courses at 15. And that's junior college
Mhm.
level classes
Yeah.
at 15. And
My
she's
head's exploding right
oh, I
now.
know. And she's accepted to Stanford at 16. So it's unheard of.
She's making me feel really tiny.
Yeah, I mean she's brilliant.
Yeah. And beautiful too.
And beautiful. Yeah, she was
Beautiful.
a super pretty girl. And it like I say, it's unheard of. Her brothers brag about her. Candy's the brain. And she's still lifting weights, still defending her brother Jimmy, who's living full time by this time in the woods. And he's a ghost that she chases with food drops. And
Yeah.
she did too. She'd take food out and leave it at set
Yeah.
places. He'd come pick it up. And her childhood is a crucible. Loss at 5, genius at 11, purpose by 15. 2005, Candace is 16 years old and she's poised for greatness. She has Stanford's acceptance letter, framed on her wall, and she's stacking up credits at BYU. She's a protector. Heather said in 2017 that she'd stand up for you at all costs. So that's her childhood distilled. A brilliant, you said, very pretty girl. She's furious in a hard scramble world, shaped by her mom's grit, brother's rough love, and a mind that won't quit. And she's already a force, and her story's just starting. 2005 would prove to be a pivotal year for Candace Hiltz. So, one that reshaped her brilliant trajectory. She's 16 at the time, and like we said, a junior at Brigham Young University. She's chasing her dream of becoming a Supreme Court justice, but then life throws her a curveball, and she finds out she's pregnant. So this proves to be more than just a footnote. It's a turning point that defines her and her final year. So we don't know much about how she got pregnant, as public records don't name the father outright, and the family has kept that piece close to the vest. Some sources say, and I tend to believe this point, that the father was her then boyfriend, Jesse Weaver. Others speculate about an unnamed older man, given Candace's age and Colorado's statutory laws. I couldn't find any police reports from 2005 to confirm that there was an investigation into her pregnancy. So we're left piecing it together.
I didn't hear anybody discussing it either.
Yeah,
Like, it was just, she got pregnant. Okay, move on.
I feel pretty certain that it's Jesse Weaver, and I'll tell you why in just a little bit.
Okay, I'll hold you to it.
But what we do know is Candace was 16, a minor, brilliant, and her getting pregnant was not in the plans.
No.
It hit hard. So, imagine her standing 5'1", 5'2", feisty as hell, a tomboy who was raised with her 6 older brothers, and now she's facing a future that she didn't script. So Dolores told the Canyon City Daily Record in 2017 that Candace questioned her by saying, "Mom, how can I afford college and care for a baby?" And Dolores, a single mom herself after the death of Candace's dad and her husband, she promised that they would figure it out. She said, "It's your dream. We're going to make it work." So Candace,
mom.
yes, she's an awesome woman. You can just
Mhm.
tell, and so Candace doesn't drop out of school. She's shifts everything to online, and she's balancing her books with growing belly. Sister-in-law Heather Hiltz later recalled to the chieftain that Candy was fierce. She didn't let anything stop her, not even this. But Lee, it was a seismic shift. So pregnancy at 16 in a rural town is not easy, physically, emotionally, or socially.
Kind of been there.
Right? Fremont County is extremely conservative, so think small town values, church on Sundays, and whispers about a teen mom. So Candace, though she isn't one to shrink, she's lifting weights, bodybuilding with her brothers, and now she's carrying a life. No records detail her prenatal care, but Dolores was a nurse, so she'd have made sure that Candace saw a doctor, likely at St. Thomas More Hospital in Canyon City, which again was 25 miles away. And it's likely that during an ultrasound, sometime later in the pregnancy, Candace would learn that all was not well. Her baby had hydrocephalus, and that typically shows up around 20 weeks into the pregnancy. So that's around that time is likely when the hammer dropped that her baby may not survive. There were some reports that claim that Candace had a stroke during her pregnancy, which had caused this condition, but there's no medical records to back that up. And, I've watched multiple interviews with Dolores, and she never said anything about that. So I don't think there's anything to it at all.
And to see pictures of her, not that you see it in everybody, but in every stroke victim that I personally know, you can see changes in the face.
Even if they make a full recovery, it usually takes a long
There's some
time.
deficits. Yeah, there's always deficits.
And, for a 16-year-old to have a stroke, there's going to have to be some underlying medical
like,
conditions.
what happened?
And by all reports, she was extremely healthy. I mean, she was a thin girl. You could tell she was in good shape. She lifted weights with her brother. I just don't think there's anything at all to that. I think it's rumor. It's way more likely that it was genetics or it was a developmental abnormality. But either way, Candace learns that her daughter's life is going to be short and fragile. So, plagued with developmental delays, surgeries, they might have to put a shunt into her skull. Candace is only 16. She's staring down Stanford, and now she has this. And Dolores said to the Denver Post that Candy was devastated, but turned it into love. She decided to put a pause on college. She didn't call it quits, but she merely paused it so that she could pour everything into her baby. And then on December 19th, 2005, Candace gave birth to a little girl. Exact details are scarce, and Dolores doesn't share the birth story publicly anywhere. There's no hospital logs out there, but likely the birth was at St. Thomas More again. A C section is likely given the baby's condition, though natural birth fits Candace's grit. She's a Virgo baby, like her mom. Like her mom said on Cold Justice, she's a miracle child. Her head might have been larger as hydrocephalus swells the skull. And for those that don't know, that's water on the brain. And
cerebrospinal fluid.
Yes, she can't walk. She probably will not be able to talk. But her smile, Dolores later told the chieftain, melted hearts. Candace names her page simple, strong, and a name that sticks. Jess is there, maybe, though his role is fuzzy. He's in and out per hints that we get from the family. The postpartum period's a blur for Candace. She's 16, healing. She has a terminally ill baby. But Dolores did say that she would be holding the baby, feeding it, writing her Stanford thesis. So she's literally not giving up that dream.
Is this girl?
Yeah, I mean, she's amazing. But Paige needs constant care. She has feeding tubes. She has tons of doctor's visits. They had to rig a crib special for her safety. So Candace is back living with Dolores full time, Copper Gulch House now, the Woodsy family retreat. Her brothers help, Jonathan, David, the whole crew, but it's Candace who bundles Paige in the sled that winter. And then Dolores said that in 2017, dragging her through the snow, making snow angels. Every week was a birthday, Dolores said. Candy knew time was short. Paige's prognosis said she could live hours, maybe days, yet she defies it, getting 11 months by August 2006. And Candace doesn't go back to BYU that year. She's a mom first, and her justice dreams are on hold, but like I said, she's still working towards that goal. But the undercurrent is stressful. And Candace is protective. Brother James, 29, is mentally ill. He's living in the woods full time, and he gets her fierce loyalty. She begins to clash with cops over him. Pregnancy and motherhood did not dim her fire. And I saw it reported. Matter of fact, I saw interviews with cops that said Candy and Jimmy did not get along. They were always at each other's throats, blah, blah, blah. The family,
I heard that too.
completely opposite.
Yeah.
The family says exactly what I wrote, that she was fiercely loyal to him.
Mhm.
She took food out, dropped it off for him. Anybody, attacked him for his mental illness and
Yeah.
stuff, she was on him right away. I did not get that read from the family at all.
Yeah,
I
she
did get it
enabled
from the
his
cops.
she enabled his needs.
Yes.
Wow.
And I mean, the family never mentioned that they were fighting or didn't like each other. It was completely the opposite. So her mother and her were in town one day, and they were driving back out to the house, and they come around the corner on a dirt road out by their house, because out in that area it's all dirt roads. It's kind of like here,
Yeah.
there's these subdivisions or whatever, but it's all dirt roads to get to them.
Mhm.
Down in that area of Colorado, it's very much the same. In this area where they lived, because it's a, I guess you could call it a subdivision. It's not really subdivision. It's just houses out in the hills, but it's very desolate. And so pulling over on one of those dirt roads, you're like away from everybody. So they come around a corner, and there's a sheriff's deputy and a known drug dealer parked on the side of the road. They witness the drug dealer handing the deputy an envelope. And at that time, Candace loses it because she thinks she just witnessed a payoff.
Certain it wasn't a birthday party invitation.
Yeah. Then on August 10th, 2006, that same deputy pulls up to the Hiltz home. And it's reported that that's Sergeant Trace Hall. I think that's the case, but later there will be some questions about that. So, but I believe that it was Sergeant Trace Hall. He pulls up, says that he's looking for Candace's brother, Jimmy Hiltz. And as we've said, Jimmy was 29 years old. He had severe mental illness, which included paranoia and delusions. And at the time, again, he was living in the woods full time. Hall claims that Jimmy's a suspect in a trespassing case. And as Dolores talks to Hall, she tells him, Jimmy's really not speaking to us right now. He's living in the woods. We haven't seen him. And her quote is, he looked at me and said, "You're a damn liar." And
Wow.
Candace loses it. She overhears this. She doesn't like his tone. And so she steps in to defend Mama and starts yelling, "Get out." Hall threatens to arrest her. Candace puts her hands up and says, "Put the cuffs on me. I will scream to high heaven that I watched you taking bribes from drug dealers." And Dolores said as soon as Candace said that, he just turned around and walked away and got in his truck and drove off. Didn't say another word.
His need to be there wasn't so important.
Yeah, he deserted the area pretty quick, and that really brought all of that. Oh wow, it was a bribe. Like what we thought we saw, we really did see.
If we're counting red flags.
Yeah. And then on August the 13th, which was 3 days after the confrontation with Sergeant Hall, the family's dog vanishes. Like we've said, they're rural, they're living out in the hills. So Dolores doesn't think much of it. She doesn't think it's criminal. She assumes that maybe a mountain lion got it or something like that. She had no way of knowing that this was a prelude. Then on August the 15th at 9 a.m., Dolores heads into town to run some errands. She needed to go to the bank, needed to stop at the store, and she figured that she'd be gone maybe 3 hours tops. So Candace decided to stay home with 11-month-old Paige. And this is the part where I say this is why I think Jesse was probably the father, because around noon he shows up. And probably not that likely that, I mean, if she's his girlfriend, gets pregnant with another man's baby, probably not likely that he's still the boyfriend.
Yeah.
So I think that he was most likely the father, because he stops by and he finds baby Paige alone in the crib, crying, and there's no trace of Candace. So he calls Dolores, who rushes back home, and at 12:45, she walks in and sees the worst thing possible. There's blood pools by the fireplace. There's a trail of blood down the hall, smears of blood on the bedroom door. Paige is there safe, but Candace isn't. Dolores follows the blood trail to Candace's room. Green and navy comforter sticks out from under the bed, and propped up by a bloody computer speaker, she pulls on it and she finds Candace wrapped up tight. So she screams, calls 911. Sheriff's deputies arrive, but it takes them over an hour to get there.
Because it's so secluded? Or
Well,
because...
I don't know, because, so as you know, I was on the fire department here, and this is the largest department in the country. It is not at all unusual for us to respond 25 miles, which is how far they had to go. It don't take an hour running lights and sirens
Yeah.
to get 25 miles. So they live 25 miles from town, and sure that sheriff's officers patrolled the area. I can't imagine that they were all in town. Canyon City has a police department as well, so Canyon City Police would cover in town. So the sheriff's office would just be patrolling the county around it. So I find it very unlikely they wouldn't have officers somewhere near the area. But even if not, why in the hell did it take them over an hour to run lights and sirens 25 miles? It's fishy as hell to me.
Because they were off somewhere collecting more envelopes.
Yeah.
Of birthday
yeah.
invitations.
Yeah. So they do finally get there, and the scene is a mess, literally. After taking more than an hour to get there, deputies do a real bang-up job of investigating. So they don't tape it off. They don't secure the crime scene. Bullet casings, the bloody blanket, drag marks, all were left untouched, unphotographed for 3 days. Dolores...
Still letting people live in the house?
They're still living there. Dolores and Candace's brother Jonathan bagged the evidence themselves. They bagged the evidence and handed over to the sheriff's office. The lead investigator, Lieutenant Detective Robert Dodd, who is a real sorry son of a bitch.
I love how you say his name like it was alleged.
Oh,
Robert Dodd.
Yeah, you're gonna come to love this guy.
Okay.
Some say that he is actually the guy that clashed with Candace on the 10th, though Hall is the one that's named in the report. And in interviews with Dolores, she doesn't give that indication. So that's why I tend to believe that it was actually Hall and not Dodd. But because it's out there, it's worth mentioning that some are saying that it was Dodd that day. You'll see why I have reason to question absolutely everything, and why I love Robert Dodd so much.
I feel the love.
I believe approximately 0 what comes from the Fremont County Sheriff's Office. And that's overstating.
Okay.
So the body shows extensive damage. The autopsy, which wasn't released until 2017, but it details the damage. So there was blast from a .410 shotgun to her face, 5 .22 caliber rounds to the back of her head, and a .45 long Colt revolver slug to her chest. So 6 headshots, 1 heart shot. They all came from different angles. So there was overkill from 2 angles,
This tiny
from the
girl.
front and the back. What strikes me about this is that the cops expect us to believe, and yes, they do, because I watched an interview with one of the investigators who said exactly this. It's very possible that somebody came in with a shotgun, shot her in the face, and then lifted her shirt, grabbed a rifle, and shot her in the chest with the rifle, and then had a .22 pistol on his hip and rolled her over and shot her in the back of the head with the pistol. That is not a direct quote, but it's pretty damn close.
But why?
They want us to believe that somebody came into a house, loaded down with at least 3 guns, and started shooting Candace.
This acrobatic way.
And yeah, changing guns and changing angles. And
Flinging her around like a rag doll.
right. And then they changed guns again and finished her off. You know, in almost every case, and you know I'm a true crime nut, so I've watched, I've listened to, I've read literally hundreds of cases, and almost immediately when they recognize that there's 2 separate guns used at a scene, almost immediately they say they almost positively have multiple shooters.
Right.
Not this bunch of freaking asshats.
Yeah,
no. Oh no. It's one guy who comes in
Cirque du Soleil style.
Oh yeah, with his arsenal to kill this little 16-year-old girl.
I'm sorry, I just pictured the Cirque du Soleil and Arnold Schwarzenegger's Commando, like, put together.
This is about what they want us to believe. So, is it possible? Yeah, I guess it's possible.
I mean,
but what would be the point? What would be the point? They say that likely.
And how much time did this person think they had for these shenanigans? I mean,
I don't know. I mean,
okay.
So like I said, you know, my experience looking into literally thousands of cases over the years have shown me that this, like I said, it should have been an immediate indication that there was more than one person involved.
Right.
A shotgun blast to the face, it would have been fatal all by itself.
Right.
5 .22 shots to the back of the head.
Jeez.
would have been fatal. And a .45 to the chest, which struck her the heart. So a .45 through the heart would have almost certainly been fatal instantly. So
she was an extraordinary girl, but I'm not going to claim that she would have lived through that.
Through any one of those, let alone all 3. And so it was beyond overkill and absolutely unnecessary for somebody to come loaded down with a shotgun, what the cops claim was a .45 rifle, which makes it even less likely than if it was a .45 handgun. But, okay, so they claim it was a shotgun, which is a long gun, .45, which they claim was a long gun, and then a .22 pistol. So there's absolutely no reason for this. To me, it points to at least 2, but likely 3 separate shooters. And even with what I consider as clear evidence of multiple shooters, the brilliant investigators focus on Brother Jimmy immediately. He's missing. He's paranoid. He's apparently linked to a burglary days prior. He's said to have stolen hatchets and a flashlight from a neighbor. And some claim that he apparently stole a 410 shotgun,
I
which a
heard that.
410 was used in this. And so a 3-day manhunt kicks off.
But did they claim after they heard about this, or was that claim?
You're going to find that everything about this case claim, because of the bang up job these dipshit investigators did investigating this case and keeping track of the evidence, we can't say anything is fact except these investigators are dipshits. We can say that is a fact.
Claims of convenience.
Yeah. Obviously, I get a little heated about this case.
Yeah, guys, don't get him riled up. Goodness.
So on August 18th, Jimmy is found in the mountains near Canyon City. He's living in the wild, and he's arrested for burglary, but not murder. There were no guns found on him, despite the Fremont County Sheriff's Office warning that he was armed with a .22 rifle, which they claim he stole a 410 shotgun, but yet he's armed and dangerous with a .22 rifle. Cops are saying she was shot with a .22 pistol, but yeah, somebody else is going to have to figure it all out because none of it makes sense to me.
Math is not mathing.
Dolores insists that Jimmy would not hurt Candy and he'd only enter an empty house.
Yeah, because people.
Right. And his mental state backs her up on that. Jimmy was much too unstable to carry out a carefully planned hit, and the murder of Candy was obviously planned and carried out by individuals that were not in the midst of a psychotic break. Even though the evidence didn't point towards Jimmy, and actually, in my opinion, it pointed directly away from Jimmy and towards multiple gunmen, the Fremont County Sheriff's Office got tunnel vision. It was Jimmy, and the case stalled. There was clearly only one motive here, and that was murdering Candace, period. There was no robbery. There was no sexual assault. Paige was left. She was fine. Candace was brutally murdered. That was it. That was the only reason. Meanwhile, we can't forget the missing dog. So as they're searching for Jimmy, a quarter of a mile away from the house, they find the dog tied to a tree. And he had been hacked to death with an axe or a hatchet. So the timing of the dog's disappearance is beyond eerie because he went missing only 2 days before the murder. And Dolores said that nobody could come near that house with that dog because that dog would at least bark like crazy. I don't know if he was aggressive and would bite, but he would definitely bark like crazy. So was this a warning, the dog disappearing? Was it a setup? To me, it seems as though Stranger knew what he or what they were going to do. They knew the dog would likely cause an issue and probably would defend Candy. Even if the dog wasn't known to bite or be aggressive, if they come in and started attacking Candy, he's probably going to bite him. And so the dog had to go. So I believe that they lured the dog away, killed it to make the planned murder go more smoothly. And this is yet another piece that points away from Jimmy. Because Jimmy belonged to the family. And even if he was living out in the woods, he knew the dog.
And the dog knew him.
And the dog knew him. Unlike a stranger, Jimmy doesn't need to get rid of the dog. If it would have been Jimmy, which I think I've made it obvious that I in no way believe it was, but if it would have been Jimmy, it would have been in the midst of a psychotic break where it wouldn't have been, I'm planning to do this in 2 days. And it would have been, he went to the house, they got in a fight, he broke and killed her.
And killed the dog at the same time, if needed.
If necessary.
Yeah.
Yeah. So there is nothing in this story to me that points to Jimmy in any way, shape, or form. But the astounding police work of the Fremont County Sheriff's Office went exactly where you'd expect it to. Absolutely nowhere. Eventually, the investigation fizzled out. Evidence sat untouched, not looked at all.
Because they're not even the ones that collected it, so they don't care where it
No.
is.
Leads dry up, if there was any. And for 10 years, it just sat cold. Then, on December 17th, 2016,
I feel like I need to enter dun dun dun.
it is a dun 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 moment. A guy by the name of Rick Radsclaff. He's a Canyon City local. He has a beef against the Fremont County Sheriff's Office, and he bids either $50 or $80, I heard both, on an abandoned storage unit at Dawson Ranch Mini Storage in Canyon City. And he said that, they open the door. You've seen those storage auctions.
Mhm.
They open the door, you peer inside, and he saw a whole bunch of cop lights, like off the top of a car.
Yeah.
And he said that a lot of the guys said, oh, it's illegal to own those, so I'm not going to bid on it. So he got it
Cheap.
really cheap because nobody else wanted it. So he placed the winning bid on the abandoned unit, and after that, he begins to dig into his treasure, and he sees, like I said, stacks of red and blue lights from the tops of cop cars. And he finds a whole pile of sheriff's uniforms, and they have a name badge on them. And the name on those badges?
Dun dun.
Robert Dodd. The same Robert Dipshit Dodd, who was the Fremont County Sheriff's Office lead investigator on Candy's murder. The same Robert Dodd who is said to have possibly been the one that Candace confronted and accused of taking bribes. And along with the lights and the uniforms, Ratcliffe also came across some manila envelopes were labeled evidence. And he picks up one of them, and a bloody axe falls out. A bloody hatchet falls out. And in another, there's a blood-soaked rope. There's some bloody socks, a green backpack with blood on it, a bloody shirt. And the guy he's stunned, which I think anybody would be.
Right.
And I mean, the guy does the responsible thing, and he calls the sheriff's office, and Sheriff John Biker, I think is how you say it. I think it's Jim Biker, and Commander Jeff Worley show up on December 30th. So luckily, he doesn't trust them. So he decides that he's going to record them. I love this guy. He's awesome.
Now, do you have to tell them? Is that a state where you have to tell them that you're being recorded?
I'm almost 100% positive that Colorado's a one-party consent state,
Okay.
So you can do it without.
I'm always going to ask you that. So.
Yep, it's a good thing to know. But anyway, even if it wasn't, though, they are law enforcement in official.
Yeah, that's
acting
different
in
too,
official
isn't it?
capacity. So in every state, you can legally videotape law enforcement. And he does. And per the Denver Post, Sheriff Biker says, this is odd. Really odd.
You think?
Eyeing the bloody backpack and Candace's shirt. And
just odd.
He hints that it's case related. And then they warn Ratcliffe that his life is in danger. He's skeptical, and he asked why there would be murder evidence in a storage unit. Why would dipshit Dodd not pay the bill?
Yeah.
And Biker.
Or why's the state not paying the bill? I mean, wouldn't that be?
If it was official evidence, they would be.
It would be if it was state's evidence.
Oh, but it gets worse.
Okay.
So Biker takes it to the evidence locker, and finally, the Colorado Bureau of Investigation steps in January 2017, and Dodd was placed on paid leave on January 1st, and then he will go on to retire on April 23rd after 25 years. But when later speaking to the chieftain, Dolores, frustrated, says that Dodd stole it to protect himself or someone. The shirt is confirmed to be Candace's, and it was identified in 2006. The axe and the rope are tied to the attack on the dog.
Wonderful.
The socks match blood that was found at the scene. So why did Dodd hoard it? Theories fly about a cover-up and corruption, and CBI probes Dodd and the Fremont County Sheriff's Office handling of the entire case. Let's shift to May 2017, a moment that cracks the Candace Hiltz case wide open again. And not with a breakthrough arrest, but with a dumpster dive to a literal landfill of secrets. So we're at the Phantom Landfill in Penrose, Colorado, which is about 10 miles east of Canyon City in Fremont County. The Phantom Landfill is a sprawling dump where trash from the region piles up, a place that you'd never think would be holding clues to a murder.
That shouldn't be holding clues to a murder.
On May 17th, 2017, a worker by the name of Robert Orton stumbles onto something that reignites the Hiltz family fury and exposes a deeper rot in the Fremont County Sheriff's Office. This isn't just about Candace anymore. It is a pattern, a scandal, and evidence that should have been locked away, not tossed out. So let's unpack every shred that we know about what was found in the landfill. And it's important to note that Robert Orton called a reporter and was like, I don't want to get fired, but there's all this stuff. And yeah, so first, the context. It's been 5 months since December when Rick Ratcliffe bought dipshit Dodd's abandoned storage unit and found a bloody axe, rope, socks, Candace's shirt, all the evidence from her 2006 murder, stashed like forgotten junk. Dodd's on paid leave at this time. January 1st, 2017, the Colorado Bureau of Investigation is digging into that whole mess. Hiltz family is screaming cover up. And now we're in May. Phantom landfill worker walks in for a routine shift, and he's sorting through a dumpster that's been hauled in from a residence, which was later tied to Dodd's address. And what he finds is a trash. It's a trove of evidence. Some of it linked to Candace, but some to other cases. And it's all dumped in a dumpster in the landfill. So what's in it? So let's catalog it piece by piece.
I kind of feel like you need to take a woo-saw before you do this.
I don't even think that would help.
Well, I need to because I'm throwing things around.
Maybe you need to.
We're fighting mad here, folks.
So, first, we got stacks of paperwork, including crime reports, some dated 2003, 2006, signed by Dodd himself. And these aren't just notes. They're the official Fremont County Sheriff's Office documents. Case files that should have been in an evidence locker, not in a landfill. And then he finds a laptop computer. We don't know the brand, and we don't know the condition, but it's flagged as potential evidence. And it could hold digital records of Candace's case or some other case. No one's saying CBI took it. The results are sealed.
Who shot Kennedy could be in there?
Who knows? Next, there's a tackle box that's labeled Fremont County Sheriff's Office Crime Scene Unit Forensic Lights. And this was specialized lighting gear for finding blood, fibers, prints at crime scenes. Why is it here? Was it used at Candace's scene? We don't know. But it's damn sure not trash, and it belonged to the county. And it was a tool of justice, yet it's discarded with the rest of the trash.
I think Dodd's GPS was messed up and took him to the landfill instead of the evidence locker.
Oh, no. It took him to his house where he ordered a dumpster, threw all of this stuff in it, and then called the landfill to come pick it up. The big one, though, there were numerous videotapes, at least a dozen, or at least dozens, maybe more, and they were marked as interviews with victims.
Oh, jeez.
Robert Orton told CBS Colorado that it had the names of victims on the tapes. It's beyond careless. And these aren't home movies. They're from sexual assault cases.
Oh, no.
Some of the victims are under the age of 18, and this is spanning back over years. Robert Orton said he was pulling out the statements out of the envelopes, and you could see where little kids had drawn with crayon to describe the assaults that had occurred and stuff. I mean,
Oh,
this is
man.
like, I mean, you can't be any more scandalized by something than that. This is about as bad as it gets.
Yeah.
So Dolores, Candace's mom, raged to CBS 4 later that that's 20 young girls, some under 18. Disgusting that he hasn't been charged with that.
Yeah.
It's unclear if any of these tapes contained any interviews pertaining to Candace's case. Hers wasn't a sexual assault case, but the timing and the presence of 2006 files in that mix raises all kinds of questions. Were these tossed to hide something bigger? Chieftain adds that an envelope with potential criminal investigation paperwork and a tape specifically about a sexual offense probe was found, and the details are fuzzy but chilling and damn sure maddening.
I can't even sit still from this. I've been just moving constantly.
Oh, yeah. And what's worse is you find out that, a lot of this stuff couldn't then be prosecuted because the statute of limitations had run because, and so, yeah, it is beyond sick. And it gets worse. So,
oh, joy. Okay.
where did all this evidence end up at the landfill? Well, like I said, it was taken from a dumpster that Dodd had ordered to his former residence, filled up before he moved to Texas. And this was confirmed by the landfill staff to the chieftain on December 26th, 2017. Dodd had retired on April 23rd, 2017, after the storage unit fiasco, and he'd moved to Texas by May. So this wasn't a sheriff's office dumpster. It was Dodd's personal trash from his house. Horton and a friend, Lisa Harmon, start collecting it, and Harmon told the Daily Record that she tried calling District Attorney Molly Chilson, but got her voicemail, so they kept digging. And they had all the evidence that they had collected and handed it over to CBI, who'd already charged Dodd on May 4th with abuse of public records and 2 counts of official misconduct for the storage unit. Yes.
So he was charged, but then got to move?
Yeah. And that's the part that's worse and is the most maddening of all. So now a second CBI probe is opened on June 9th, and that one deals with the landfill evidence, and it's separate but obviously linked. So what was the Hills family reaction to this discovery? Well, understandably explosive. Dolores told the chieftain on December 28th, 2017, and I said this before, but she is insistent that he stole that evidence to either protect himself or to protect someone else, and this is proof of it. She's convinced it's not just Candace's case, and Dodd's just a cog in the corrupt machine. Heather Hills, her sister-in-law, told CBS 4 on May 18th, "I feel like he's covering up for someone out there, hiding evidence. Families are suffering." They're not wrong to wonder. As we've already discussed, Candace's autopsy, which was finally released on January 25th, 2017, showed 7 shots, 3 guns, at least 2 angles. Could the landfill hold the smoking gun? Maybe a 22 casing, 45 caliber slug? Anything that was missed or ignored in 2006? No specifics tie it directly, but the 2006 paperwork overlap screams that that's a possibility. So Sheriff Jim Biker in the Fremont County Sheriff's Office is scrambling at this point. He cataloged the storage unit stuff in December, handed it over to CBI on January 3rd, 2017. Now this. So Biker told the Daily Record on June 9th that we requested CBI's help with the landfill. It's pending. And DA Chilson's tight-lipped and won't release the CBI reports, citing active cases. Dodd's lawyer, Randy Jorgensen, pushed to dismiss the charges, claiming that it's all a big misunderstanding. Dodd told CBI that he kept storage items to take more photos later, but he never did. So what does he say about it ending up in the landfill? Well, he's silent on that point. No DNA tests. He just doesn't say anything.
I know.
No DNA tests from either Hall. And Judge Lynette Warner in 2020 noted that Dodd never obtained DNA tests, meaning potential relevant evidence was lost because by this point, there's a couple things going on. The worst is it was found that the DNA was too badly degraded to test now. But the second thing is you've got a major chain of custody issue at this point. Somebody's DNA shows up on something, all they got to say is, well, yeah, I threw away my bloody towel in the dump from when I cut my finger and somehow it got on the axe or what. You've got a huge problem making a case at this point. So the scope of the disaster widens. So those sexual assault tapes aren't from Candace's case, but they are from Fremont County, making it Dodd's turf. At least 20 victims, at least some of whom were minors, left unprosecuted. Evidence was obviously tossed in the trash. The Chieftain's December 28 piece hints at a cluster of evidence that was found that spanned the years 2003 to 2006. Like we said, Candace's murder fits in that window. So was Dodd busy burying a more extensive network? Was Candace right with her accusations? Was there a drug network operating in the area and paying off the sheriff department deputies? Perhaps the sheriff himself. Was her tragic death the result of a deputy's revenge, shutting her up before she could blow the lid off of the corruption? The Hiltzes sure think so. Dolores, in August 2006, her clash with Deputy Trace Hall, where Candace accused him of taking drug bribes, looms large. Now, if that truly was Hall and not Dodd at the house that day, it's not tied to the landfill. The Fremont County Sheriff's Office is under a cloud of suspicion, though, and in 2017, 11 deputies are placed on leave for various scandals.
Cleaning house.
So let's quickly dive into these cases just to understand the caliber of people that we have working at the Fremont County Sheriff's Office at the time of Candy's murder. As we said, 2017, the Fremont County Sheriff's Office faced a series of scandals that resulted in at least 11 deputies being placed on administrative leave, eroding public trust, and drawing intense scrutiny to Sheriff Jim Biker and his leadership. This wasn't a single event, but a cascade of incidents, some criminal, some procedural, spanning allegations of evidence tampering, child abuse, misuse of force, and internal misconduct. So by year's end, the Fremont County Sheriff's Office was a lightning rod, with the Fremont freedom fighters launching a failed recall effort against Biker and the community reeling from the fallout. So let's dissect each known case that led to the deputies being sidelined. We've got Robert Dodd,
Your favorite.
the evidence hoarding scandal, January 2017. His date of leave is January 1st. The details, as we've discussed, the year kicked off with the bombshell tied to the Candace Hiltz murder case. Lieutenant Detective Robert Dodd, a 25-year Fremont County Sheriff's Office veteran, was placed on paid administrative leave after evidence from Candace's 2006 murder trial, found in December 17th of 2016 in his personal storage unit, surfaced. The Denver Post reported on January 25th, 2017, that Sheriff Biker confirmed Dodd's suspension pending a Colorado Bureau of Investigation probe. Dodd claimed that he kept the items to take more photos later, per CBS Colorado on July 5th, 2018, but he never did. Now, as we've already said, it wasn't just sloppy. It definitely reeks of corruption. Candace's family, especially Dolores Hills, alleged a cover-up pointing to her August 10th, 2006 clash with Deputy Trace Hall, where Candace accused him of taking drug bribes. The storage unit find suggests that Dodd might have hidden evidence to protect someone or himself.
Or both.
Or both. The outcome, Dodd retired April 23rd, 2017, before facing full consequences. On May 4th, 2017, DA Molly Chilson charged him with abuse of public records, which is a misdemeanor, 2 counts of official misconduct, which are petty offenses, for altering the case files post-discovery, which is something that I mentioned, but I didn't explain. So after the storage unit was made public, dipshit Dodd goes to the sheriff's office and alters the evidence record in Candace's murder case to now reflect the evidence that was stored at the storage unit because he knew he'd been discovered.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's where the petty offenses of altering case files comes. He did it at least 2, if not 3 separate times. He altered her case files.
So many
10 years later, he knew what evidence was in that storage unit. He knew what case it was linked to.
And he got slapped on the hand.
Yeah, if you even call it that. He pleaded guilty on June 28th, and he got 15 days in jail, 165 suspended, and a $1,000 fine. Yeah, it was
broke
light.
Now.
The family was outraged. So then we've got Bruce Briscoe. Alleged inappropriate relationship, February of 2017. Date of leave, February 2017. The exact date is unreported, but 1 month after Dodd, per the Denver Post.
Sneaking out.
So the details. Lieutenant Bruce Briscoe was placed on leave after the CBI launched an investigation into an alleged relationship he had in 1999 with a 17-year-old girl. The Kansas City Daily Record on July 25th, 2017 noted this came on Dodd's heels, amplifying the Fremont County Sheriff's Office woes. Details are thin and no public victim statement or specific incident date beyond 1999, but the age gap, Briscoe was in his 30s, and his authority as, I don't know if he was a lieutenant in 99, but he was a deputy sheriff at least.
Being in law enforcement is authority.
Yeah, so he's a 30-year-old sheriff's deputy who is involved with a 17-year-old girl. Yeah, that raised some red flags.
Didn't that happen around here once?
Probably.
It did.
This wasn't a fresh crime, but a historical accusation that surfaced in 2017, possibly spurred on by Dodd's scandal being in the spotlight. The CBI's involvement suggests that there was credible evidence, though not enough for charges to be filed. The DA's office couldn't file charges, likely due to the statute of limitations or insufficient proof, per the Daily Record. Briscoe returned to regular duty by mid-2017, though exact timing isn't specified. Then we've got Aaron Hart. Unfair DUI arrests. Date of leave, March 2017. Reported April 5th, 2017 by the Cannon City Daily Record. Details. Patrol Sergeant Aaron Hart was placed on leave after Colorado State Patrol Trooper Gregory Muse accused him of unfairly arresting people for driving under the influence. The Daily Record on April 5th reported Hart appeared in Fremont District Court on April 4th, tied to the Stephen Witt trial of attempted murder sexual assault. Muse claimed that Hart nabbed drivers showing no impairment, potentially falsifying sobriety tests or reports. So, the context: Hart's testimony was key in Witt's case, making his credibility a courtroom battleground. The accusation suggested abuse of power, a serious breach in a county with 15 prisons, and a law and order ethos. So, the outcome? Well, Hart remained on leave until June 2017, pending an internal affairs probe, per the Daily Record on December 28th. No criminal charges were filed by year's end, and his status post June isn't detailed, but he likely returned to work, or he quietly exited, but he's probably still working there. Then we've got Brandon Tilley, child abuse and assault. Date of leave, May 3rd, 2017. He's arrested, leave immediate, per the Denver Post, May 4th. The details: Corporal Brandon Tilley, a patrol deputy since 2009, was arrested May 3rd by Cannon City Police on suspicion of misdemeanor child abuse and third-degree assault. The Denver Post on May 4th reported that he and his wife, Catherine Tilley, were accused in a domestic incident, nature unspecified, the victim identity withheld, possibly it was their child. Tilley was placed on leave the same day. So the context is, this came amid a difficult period for Fremont County Sheriff's Office, to say the least. With Dodd's case still raw, Tilley's 2014 involvement in a justified shooting of John Feda, and it was non-lethal, had earned him praise, making this fall stark. The outcome? No detailed resolution. Tilley was released post-arrest, and no trial outcome is public by 2017's end. Likely he remained on leave or he resigned quietly. We don't know. Tyler Madsen, unfounded complaint. Date of leave was May 2017. Exact date is unreported. Deputy Tyler Madsen was placed on leave after a complaint filed with the Fremont County Sheriff's Office. Specifics were undisclosed, per the Cannon City Daily Record on July 25th. Unlike others, this wasn't criminal, it was procedural. The context is, the fifth leave in 5 months fueled perceptions of a department that was unraveling. Biker called it routine in a July 25th press conference, but the timing amplified scrutiny. The outcome is the Sheriff's Office investigation found the allegations were unfounded. Madsen returned to duty by July, and no further action was reported. Then we have Brody Koch, misuse of force. Date of leave, June 2017. Exact date is unreported. Deputy Brody Koch was placed on leave after allegedly misusing force during an arrest, although details are sparse, per the Cannon City Daily Record on July 25th. No victim name or incident specifics emerged, but it was serious enough for suspension. This is the sixth in line. Koch's case added to the narrative of deputy misconduct and physical overreach clashing with Fremont County Sheriff's Office public safety mission. The outcome? No charges or resolution by year's end, but he's likely still on leave or internally disciplined. We don't know. Then we have Sarah Brassfield, child abuse. Date of leave, July 10th, 2017. Details: detention deputy Sarah Brassfield, 37, was arrested July 9th by Cannon City Police and charged with child abuse. The Denver Post reported that she left her 2 foster children in a Ford Mustang convertible with the roof up, windows down, in a Department of Human Services parking lot while meeting with a caseworker. A bystander noticed the kids' red, flustered faces from the heat. Brassfield was summoned, released, and placed on leave July 10th. So she's brilliant.
Mm-hmm.
Not only,
Foster.
yeah, not only
Foster.
does she do this, she does it in the Department of Human Services parking lot.
We love her.
So the context of this case, this says number 7 in the same year, 2017.
In the same month-ish.
Yeah. This incident, public and neglectful, intensifies the Fremont County Sheriff's Office PR crisis. Biker called it disturbing in the July 25th briefing.
It's just disturbing.
Outcome, no trial outcome by December. Likely remained on leave or resigned per the Daily Record's year-end tally. And then numbers 8 through 11.
Oh my God.
Are 4 deputies, an internal department issue. The date of leave is July 24th, 25th, 2017. 4 unnamed deputies were placed on leave for an internal department issue. This is not criminal per Sheriff Biker. In a July 25th press conference, the Daily Record reported no specifics, so they could be policy violations or insubordination or morale related fallout from the prior scandals. Biker stressed that it wasn't illegal, countering some social media rumors. The context, this brought the total to 11, a staggering figure for. So it's a little bit tough here because some of my research says that it's a 60 to 70 deputy force. I find that unlikely. And so I found another figure of 35, and I think that's much closer to reality. I think that there's probably about 35 total officers. That includes all the jail staff and the patrol officers. And 11 of them are suspended in 1 year. So, yeah, so Biker admitted that this year hasn't been good.
Hasn't been good.
But he defended his good officers. So the outcome, there's no names of numbers 8 through 11 by year's end. They all likely returned to duty, or it was quietly handled internally. We don't know, but. And then we have an additional scandal.
Because there wasn't enough.
This is Christopher Page, and so it didn't fit into the 2017 year of scandal. This one didn't happen until June of 2018. But
while he's a late bloomer, give him a break.
So while not on leave in 2017, Deputy Christopher Pape, June 9th, 2018 arrest for felony evidence tampering and theft ties to 2017's chaos. His leave stemmed from a 2014 shooting review, but his 2018 charges reflect the Fremont County Sheriff's Office ongoing issues, and Biker noted 2017's great deal of suffering as a precursor to it. So by July of 2017, like we said, at least 11 deputies had been placed on leave. Dodd, Briscoe, Hart, Tilley, Matson, Cock, Brassfield, and 4 that were unnamed. Over half the damn patrol division at times. And that is not an exaggeration. So it's not a large department. And like I said, I think that it was 35 total officers. And then you got to take out jail staff, which is significant. But then you got to take it out by shift. It's not like you have 34 officers on 24 hours a day.
Right.
Some of those are covering days. Some of them are covering nights. I don't know if they do like they do here and work 12s or if they do 3 shifts. I don't know. But this is a huge number of deputies for this force.
Now, was it paid leave? Were they getting paid to sit and
all of them? Yeah, it cost the
My
county.
apologies for that noise, folks.
It cost the county like over $100,000 total paid leave.
Son.
So, yeah. So, like I said, this includes both the jail and patrol officers, investigative staff. So, 11 out of 35 being placed on leave in 1 year is insane. Then, if you add the last one in 2018, that's 12 in just over a year.
These guys get their training at, because I think it starts there.
I think it really is endemic of, or it really is an indication that corruption was endemic within this department.
Mm-hmm.
It came from the top. I watched interviews with Sheriff Biker, and I mean, he didn't seem like a bad guy. You know, he's the kind of guy that you sit there and talk to and say, you know, okay, yeah, this
Mhm.
seems like a pretty okay guy. But then you look at his department and you're like, I don't care what kind of face you put on when you're
Yeah.
talking to the TV cameras. You're a dipshit.
How are you blind?
You don't belong in this job. I mean, I know our sheriff here, and Daryl would destroy
Yeah.
his deputies if they pulled any one of these things. It wouldn't even be a question. He would throw them in jail himself. That's what you expect from a good sheriff.
Right.
So this was a public relations nightmare for the department, as you can imagine. The public reacted, and like I said before, a group that was called the Fremont Freedom Fighters, they led a recall effort against Biker, but it failed in July of 2017 because it didn't have enough signatures. This recall effort might have failed, but it definitely reflected the outrage of the community. And Biker resigned July 31st of 2018 and made that resignation effective September 1st. And he cited personal choice amid 15 years of problems.
Mm-hmm.
So, what was the sheriff's response to all this? Well, he told the Daily Record on July 25th, if I wasn't doing my job, I wouldn't address these issues. He acknowledged morale hits, but insisted the Fremont County Sheriff's Office still patrolled effectively. Biker left a legacy of scandal, and this is especially true with Candace's case and Dodd's evidence mishandling. It served to amplify the claims of corruption and possibly even murder by the officers themselves. The 2017 Fremont County Sheriff's Office scandals were the perfect storm. They left the department in free fall. Robert Dodd's storage unit evidence, Candace's bloody shirt, an axe, rope, ignites hope, and then the Penrose landfill dump in May piles on suspicion. So by December, the Cannon City Daily Record crowns it the year's top story. Dolores Hills was on fire, saying that it was a cover up. She tells the chieftain on July 28th that Dodd's protecting someone. 11 deputies are on leave. As we said, on June 28th, 2018, Dodd's trial lands. He's guilty on 3 counts, abuse of public records, 2 petty misconduct charges, 15 days in jail, $1,000 fine, 165 days suspended. Dolores calls it a farce. I agree with Dolores. Right. She said that to KOAA on February 28th, 2020. He's cuffed. Heather Hills claps, but no murder link sticks. Dodd retires to Texas and takes a security gig. CBI's 2 probes into the storage unit and landfill are wrapped up quietly. And who can guess how much potential evidence was lost? Candace's case stalls again, and it still sits cold. No arrests. 2019's a slog and finds Dolores continuing to push Cora requests, but the Fremont County Sheriff's Office denies them, citing that it's still an active investigation. And this drives me insane with these cases
I
that
couldn't tell.
go unsolved for 20, 30 years, but yet the departments won't release any of the information because it's an open case.
Yeah.
You know, I get that for a certain length of time,
Yeah.
but then it's just like, give me a break. Like the John Benet Ramsey case, for instance, the fact that all that isn't released is just maddening to
insane.
me. It's insane.
How long ago was that?
96, I think.
So
Somewhere it
28
was right
years?
around there. It's been like 30 years. So, and that's a stance that they've always held. This is an open and ongoing investigation. So, then on November 27th, 2021, Oxygen's Cold Justice drops season 6, episode 8, titled Small Town Conspiracy. Kelly Sigler and Abby Abendonlo storm Fremont County, teaming with Undersheriff Derek Irvine and Detective Peter Rasmussen. They recreate the scene with 7 shots, 3 guns, and Candace under the bed. Bone fragment from the woods that was found years prior tests positive for her DNA with shotgun residue, per the episode. And they say that the suspect is Jimmy Hiltz, her brother. Because of his mental illness and proximity, dead dog 2 days prior definitely points to Jimmy.
Oh, yeah.
Dolores balks at the theory and tells Sigler Jimmy didn't do it. The team pitches him to DA Caitlin Turner with no dice, no confession. The case was too circumstantial. Irvine admits that to Oxygen and says the case has a black cloud over us. Rumors, podcasters, no facts. They debunk the cop killed her dog theory, and Trace Hall denies it. The crew leaves empty-handed. The bone's a lead, but it's not enough. So post Cold Justice, the CBI keeps the file open per a 2023 Chieftain update, but no new charges by today in 2025. Dolores's hopes dim, and she tells Navigating Advocacy in 2023 that they've got the evidence, so why is it just sitting? Today, in April of 2025, almost 20 years after Candace's murder, there have been no arrests in the case. Jimmy's still at the Colorado Mental Health Institute in Pueblo, and he's become a peer counselor since 2017, and he's doing great.
So he's
very active, helping a lot of people.
He's dealing with people.
Yeah. Yep. Yeah. I mean, everything I heard about him is he's doing great. And you look at pictures of him, he's clean cut, smile on his face. He just looks like he's really doing good.
Nice.
And the family's theory of the case agrees with mine. There were at least 2 shooters. I think 3, but at least 2. And this theory is backed up, in my opinion, by the autopsy's findings of gunshots from both Candace's front and back, the landfill's sex assault tapes, at least 20 victims still linger unsolved.
That's sad.
Candace's case is a whisper, supposedly active, but frozen, wound unhealed, justice denied. What about Fremont County after the mess of 2017? Alan Cooper was elected sheriff in November of 2028 and sworn in January of 2019. He is a 25-year Fremont County Sheriff's Office vet, and supposedly he's part of the cleanup crew.
So he wasn't part of the 11 that were suspended.
No, but I don't have a lot of hope for him, honestly. So he said to the Daily Record in 2018, we're moving forward. Trust takes time. Staffing's gutted as he takes office, 11 out of 30. Some deputies were sidelined in 2017. Cooper rebuilds, hiring fresh faces by 2020. Scandals taper off. Christopher Pape's 2018 evidence tampering arrest is a late echo tied to the 2017 chaos. Cooper's Fremont County Sheriff's Office stabilizes, but the Candace cloud still lingers. And I say that I don't have a lot of faith in him for a couple reasons. One, he's a 25-year vet of the corruption. So
He's part of it.
he's part of it. Two, I mean, if I was elected sheriff, I swear to God, as I was running, I am going to solve this case, period. And it would be number one priority to solve this case and to dig through every one of those freaking cases
Yeah.
that was left uninvestigated. And if I could bring any charges to anybody, I would. I didn't see anywhere that he had done that. So I just don't have a lot of faith. So deep in Prison Valley, Fremont County's 2023 crime stats show that burglaries are up, violent crime is steady, a prison heavy county still edgy, community trust is fractured. Canyon City, population of around 16,000, 17,000, leans on law and order with its 15 prisons, including the Supermax looming large. 2017's betrayals still sting. Morris's corruption rampant rant to Reddit in 2017 echoes in 2025 coffee shop talk. Cooper's supposedly transparent with weekly blotters now online per the Fremont County Sheriff's Office website, but the Hills case festers and it's a scar on his tenure, like I said. 2021's cold justice spotlight helps, but Irvine's black cloud line resonates. By 2023, Fremont County Sheriff's Office aids CBI on cold cases, but there's no break in Candace's. April 2025 sees quiet progress with a new evidence locker system to ensure that there are no more dipshit Dodds. Yet locals like Rick Ratscliffe, the storage unit buyer, tells KOAA on February 26, 2020 that it's better, but it's not fixed. Fremont County's healing, but the past still clings. So what about the Hiltzes? Well, they are relentless. Dolores is now in her 70s, and she keeps fighting.
Oh, mama.
She says, I just want her home. She tells Navigating Advocacy in 2023, Paige, Candace's daughter, died in 2012 at the age of 7 from the hydrocephalus, from complications from it. And following Candace's death, Dolores stepped in and she raised Paige. So basically, losing her was like losing a second daughter. It was like burying two of her children. Heather Hiltz, Jonathan's wife, said to KOAA in 2020 that we'll never stop. The family sues, they petition, but nothing breaks through. Jimmy's a specter. He's stable in Pueblo. Family insists that he's innocent, and I agree.
Is there any interviews with him?
No. And I doubt that there will be.
Right.
What's Candace's legacy? Prodigy lost. Think of it. Calculus at 11, Stanford at 16, a Supreme Court dream snuffed out. Fremont County remembers her. Her story's taught in local criminology classes.
Really? Good.
Yep. True crime keeps her alive. Reddit's Unresolved Mysteries, Wicked and Grim in 2024. Us amplifying the cover up. But justice, it remains elusive. As of today, Candace's case is CBI's. The Fremont County Sheriff's Office is a bystander. And the county's moved on, sort of. What are my thoughts on the story? Well, I think I made a lot of my thoughts clear throughout this episode, but I think there's way too much here for it to have been innocent or accidental, and I'm talking about the evidence. We know that there was corruption in Fremont County Sheriff's Office. It's clear. I believe that at least some officers were involved with and taking bribes from local drug dealers. And what Candace and her mom witnessed was most likely a payoff. Unfortunately, Candace was full of piss and vinegar, and she was afraid of no one. She let the cat out of the bag when she accused whichever deputy it was that was there of taking a bribe. And I think that either Deputy Hall or Deputy Dodd then went to the other members of the conspiracy. My guess is that the drug dealers are the ones that were tasked with making the hit. The deputies would respond and would be the ones that would be investigating it, making sure that their little Southern Colorado crime syndicate stayed intact.
Good old boys club.
Yep. Knew the dog was going to be a problem. So days before, they killed the dog to make it easier. And then they waited for the right opportunity. Flores left to run some errands, and I think at least 3 men entered her home. When Candace confronted them, they shot her. After she had fallen, they rolled her over and executed her with a shot to the face. Then they hid the body and left, and the plan went just as they expected. Partners on the sheriff's department botched the investigation, lost and or stole evidence to ensure that it would never be solved. This is a story that would fit better in a tale of the New York Mafia than in small town Canyon City, Colorado.
I keep forgetting we're in Colorado.
Yeah. Cops on the take and protecting the bad guys, possibly involved in the murder itself. It did happen. Tiny desert town in southern Colorado, though. This isn't a big city story. That's where we land. The brutal murder of Candace Hiltz left unsolved, possibly left unsolvable due to the extreme mishandling of every aspect of the investigation. Fremont County left scarred but standing. Since 2017, it's been fits and starts. Dodd's fall, Cooper's rise, a family's unyielding cry. What's next? My fear is that this case will remain forever unsolved. Even if they had found DNA evidence pointing to the killer, it would have likely been tossed out of court because of how badly it was mishandled.
Mm-hmm.
The chain of custody wasn't just broken, it was blown completely apart. The evidence wasn't found in the back of a drawer in the basement of the sheriff's office.
Was it ever even together to begin with?
Yeah, it was found in the damn landfill.
Yeah.
So, like I said earlier, any potential suspect would and could claim that their DNA came from the landfill, not from the crime.
And in the future, they can still claim that.
Absolutely. And as far as we know, DNA wasn't found, but even if it had been, I think it would have been a loss because of that. Dodd deserves to be locked up with the key thrown away, even if he wasn't involved in the crime, though I think he was. But the damage that he did was every bit as great. Victims of murder and sexual assault were left without justice and without the possibility of justice. All because of this moron's criminality or incompetence. Either way, he may as well have had committed the crimes, and his behavior ensures that the victims are re-victimized over and over and over again. The fact that he is out living his life is just another slap in the face. And this is to me, a dumbass podcaster. I can't imagine what it is for her poor family and for the families of all the sexual assault victims as well.
But see, that's also highlights why sexual assault victims don't come forward.
Exactly. Yes.
Nothing happens, whether it's lost, can't be proven.
Yep. So here we stand, April of 2025, nearly 19 years since Candace Hills' light was extinguished in that Copper Gulch home. Her brilliance silenced by 7 bullets in a decade of shadows. Her family still searches. Fremont County still bears the scars. And we, listeners, still grapple with the why. Why a prodigy's dream ended. Why justice slips through the cracks of a small town secrets. The evidence sits with CBI. Robert Dodd fades into obscurity. Jimmy Hills remains a question mark in Pueblo's quiet wards. Candace's story isn't over. It's a plea etched in the wind of those Colorado woods. Call for someone, somewhere, find the truth. She was a daughter, a mother, a sister, force lost, but not forgotten. As we close this story, let her echo stay with you. Candace Hiltz dreamed of the Supreme Court, of righting wrongs, and maybe, in her absence, she's asking us to do the same. World of mysteries, some fade, but hers burns on. Hold your loved ones close tonight and keep asking why. For young mother Candace Hiltz, for justice, for the shadows that still whisper, for the voices, all the voiceless. This is John.
And this is Angela.
And until next time, this is Dark Dialogue.